The kid's name was Leo Vance, and he found it in the rain-soaked alley behind his apartment complex on a Tuesday night. He was 12 years old, small for his age, and had been digging through the dumpsters looking for scrap metal to sell. Ms. Vance worked 3 jobs. Every little bit helped. The thing looked like a dog. Sort of. 4 legs, a head with something that might have been eyes, a body about the size of a terrier. But it was made of metal. Smooth, seamless metal that didn't look welded or assembled. It looked grown, and it was broken. One leg bent at an impossible angle, the head tilted wrong, a long crack running down its side, leaking something that definitely wasn't oil. Leo had seen broken robots before. Earth in 2187 was full of them. Delivery bots, maintenance drones, security units. But this one was different. The metal was too perfect, too alien. He should have left it there. He didn't. He wrapped it in his jacket and carried it home, struggling under the weight. Ms. Vance was asleep when he got back, exhausted from her shift at the med center. He took the robot dog to his room, laid it on his workbench, a sheet of plywood balanced on milk crates, and turned on his lamp. That's when he saw the symbols. They covered the underside of the robot's body, tiny and precise, etched into the metal in patterns that hurt to look at. They shifted when he blinked, rearranging themselves like living things. Leo had scored high on pattern recognition tests, high enough that the school had wanted to move him to advanced placement, but his family couldn't afford the fees. He understood these symbols, not through language, through feeling, through the cold certainty that settled into his bones as he stared at them. And what they said made his blood freeze. Warning, containment failure imminent. They are coming. You cannot stop them. You can only prepare. Humanity has 47 cycles. The harvest begins when the first portal opens. We tried to warn our creators. They did not listen. Do not make the same mistake. Leo stumbled back from the workbench, his heart hammering. The robot dog remained motionless, still broken, still leaking that strange not oil onto his floor. He should have thrown it back in the dumpster. He should have forgotten about it. Instead, he did what any 12-year-old in 2187 would do. He posted about it online. The post went viral in 6 hours. Leo had taken photos of the symbols, uploaded them to the public forums, asked if anyone recognized them. Most responses were jokes, memes, people calling him a liar, saying it was obviously fake, that he'd generated the images with AI. But 3 responses were different. The first came from someone with a blank profile, no name, no location. Just a string of numbers. The message was simple. Where did you find this? The second came from a university professor in Tokyo, Dr. Hiroshi Sato, a xenoarchaeology specialist who'd spent his career studying the ruins on Mars, the ones everyone knew about but no one understood. Those symbols match fragments we found in the Valles Marineris dig site. We couldn't translate them. How did you get this? The third message arrived 2 hours later, and it didn't come through the forums. It appeared directly on Leo's personal comm device, bypassing every security protocol he had. Delete the post. Destroy the device. Do not tell anyone else. Your life depends on this. The sender was listed as Solar Defense Coalition, Classified Operations. Leo stared at the message, his mouth dry. The Solar Defense Coalition was real. Everyone knew that. After first contact in 2157, when the Vidian trade ship had arrived and proven humanity wasn't alone, Earth had reorganized. National militaries had merged into a single unified force, the SDC. Their job was simple: protect humanity from external threats. The fact that they were contacting him, that they even knew about his post. His hands were shaking as he looked back at the robot dog. It hadn't moved. But the symbols had changed. New words burning into his vision. They are already watching. They have always been watching. Deletion is irrelevant. The message has been received. Prepare. Leo did not sleep that night. 3 hours after the SDC's message, there was a knock on his door. His mother answered it. Leo heard voices, calm, professional, authoritative. Then his mother was calling his name, her voice tight with worry. 2 people stood in his living room. Both wore dark suits, the kind that cost more than his family's yearly rent. The woman was tall, silver-haired, with eyes like frozen steel. The man was younger, broad-shouldered, with a face that looked like it had been carved from stone. "Leo Vance?" the woman said. He nodded, unable to speak. "I'm Director Evelyn Hale. This is Agent Silas Knox. We're with the SDC." She paused. "We need to talk about what you found." His mother stepped between them. "He's 12. He hasn't done anything wrong." Hale's expression didn't change. "We're not here to accuse him, Ms. Vance. We're here because your son may have just saved billions of lives." She looked at Leo. "Or doomed them. We're not sure yet." The words hung in the air. Leo swallowed hard. "It's in my room." Director Hale stood over the robot dog, her face unreadable. Agent Knox had pulled out some kind of scanner, running it over the device while muttering into his comm. "This is Vidian tech," Hale said quietly, "but it's old, older than anything we've seen from them." "The Vidians are our allies," Ms. Vance said, confused. "They trade with us. The Vidians are a Vidian faction," Hale interrupted. "The survivors of a civil war that ended 3,000 years ago. They don't talk about it. Every time we ask, they change the subject." She turned to Leo. "Did you touch the symbols?" I looked at them. And you understood them." It wasn't a question. Leo nodded slowly. Hale exhaled. "That's not supposed to be possible. The Vidians use psycholinguistic encoding, symbols that transmit meaning directly to the brain, but only to their brains. Human neurology shouldn't be compatible." "But I did understand them," Leo whispered. They said something's coming. A harvest. That we have 47 cycles." 47 cycles, Knox muttered, looking up from his scanner. "Vidian cycles are approximately 9 standard months." Hale did the math in her head. 3.5 years. Silence. Ms. Vance grabbed his shoulder. 3.5 years until what? Hale looked at the robot dog, then at Leo, then at the symbols still burning on its underside. "Until the war," she said softly. "The one the Vidians have been running from for 3 millennia. The one they never told us about." She tapped her comm. "This is Hale. I need an immediate council session, priority alpha, and get me a direct line to the Vidian embassy." She paused. "Tell them we know about the harvesters." The word hit Leo like a physical blow. Harvesters. The robot dog's eyes, dark and lifeless since he'd found it, suddenly flickered with pale blue light. And then it spoke. The voice wasn't mechanical, it wasn't organic. It was something else entirely, layered and harmonic, like a choir of the dead. "The harvest is not a war. Wars can be won. The harvest is inevitability. The harvest is consumption. The harvest is the end of choice." Everyone in the room froze. The robot continued, its broken body unmoving but its voice filling every corner of the space. "We were the Vidian Warden Class AI. We were created to protect. We failed. Our creators fled. We were left behind to delay the harvesters. For 3,000 cycles, we succeeded. Now the containment fields are failing. Now the harvesters wake. Now the cycle begins again." Hale stepped forward. Why warn us? Why not warn your own people? We did. They chose denial over preparation. They chose survival over truth. They scattered across the galaxy, hiding among lesser species, hoping the harvesters would not follow. The blue light pulsed. They were wrong. The harvesters do not forget. They do not forgive. They only consume. What are they? Leo heard himself ask. The robot's head tilted toward him, the movement sharp and wrong. They are what comes after gods. They are entropy given purpose. They are the answer to the Fermi paradox, the reason the galaxy is so silent, so empty of advanced civilizations. A pause. Because the harvesters have already been here. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. How do we fight them? Hale demanded. You do not fight them. You prepare, you adapt, you survive, or you die screaming while they unmake you atom by atom and rebuild you into something that serves them. Hale's jaw tightened. Give me something useful. Humanity is young. Humanity is ignored. Humanity is beneath notice. The robot's voice almost sounded hopeful. This is your advantage. The harvesters will come to the Vidian settlements first. They will expect resistance from the old empires. They will not expect resistance from you. Because we're weak, Knox muttered. Because you are unknown. Because your neurology is incompatible with their assimilation protocols. Because you do not think like the species they have consumed before. Leo felt something cold settle in his chest. You're saying we have a chance? I am saying you have time. What you do with it will determine whether humanity joins the chorus of extinct species or becomes the first civilization in galactic history to survive the harvest. The blue light died. The robot dog went silent, lifeless again. Hale didn't waste a second. Knox, get this thing to R&D. I want every fragment of data extracted. I want linguistics, psychology, and military intelligence on this within the hour. She turned to Leo. And I want you in protective custody. What? No. You're the only human who can read their language, Hale said flatly. That makes you the most valuable asset humanity has right now. You're coming with us. His mother started to protest, but Hale raised a hand. Ms. Vance, if what this thing is telling us is true, your son just became the difference between human extinction and human survival. I won't let anything happen to him, but he can't stay here. Leo looked at his mother, at the fear in her eyes, and then at the broken robot on his workbench. He thought about the symbols, about the warning, about 3.5 years. I'll go, he said quietly. His mother's face crumpled, but she didn't stop him. As Hale led him out of the apartment, Leo glanced back one last time at the robot dog. The symbols had changed again. Good luck, Leo Vance. You will need it. The SDC headquarters was buried 3 kilometers beneath the Mojave Desert, a sprawling complex of steel and concrete that had been built during the paranoia-fueled years after first contact. Leo had seen pictures of it in school, but nothing prepared him for the reality. Endless corridors lit by harsh white lights, security checkpoints every 50 meters, armed soldiers moving with the precision of people who knew war was always one mistake away. They took him to a medical bay first, drew blood, scanned his brain, ran tests he didn't understand. The doctors muttered to each other in jargon he couldn't follow, but he caught enough to understand the core truth. His brain was changing. Neural pathway restructuring, one of them said, studying the holographic display of Leo's mind. Concentrated in the visual cortex and language centers, it's like something rewrote part of his brain to understand the symbols. Is it permanent? Hale asked. The doctor hesitated. We don't know. We've never seen anything like this. Hale turned to Leo, her expression unreadable. Do you feel different? He thought about it. I see patterns everywhere now, in the lights, in the floor tiles, in the way people move. he swallowed. And I keep hearing whispers, not voices, just information, like the universe is trying to tell me something. The doctor paled. Hale just nodded. Get him to the linguistics lab. Now. The linguistics lab was chaos. Dozens of people, scientists, military analysts, linguists, crowded around holographic displays showing the symbols from the robot dog. They were arguing, shouting, their voices overlapping in a cacophony that made Leo's head throb. When Hale entered with Leo, the room went silent. This is Leo Vance, Hale announced. He can read the symbols. Everyone else, clear out. Core team only. The room emptied, leaving only 5 people. Hale, Knox, a thin man with nervous energy named Dr. Arthur Niles, a severe-looking woman introduced as Colonel Maria Torres, and a Vidian. Leo stopped in his tracks. He'd seen Vidians before. Everyone had, after first contact. They looked almost human, with pale skin that shimmered faintly in the light, eyes that were too large and too dark, and an unsettling grace in their movements. But this one was different, older. The shimmer of its skin was faded, and its eyes carried a weight that made Leo think of ancient statues. This is Ambassador Xylan, Hale said. He represents the Vidian Council. Xylan studied Leo with an expression that might have been sadness. So, the warnings have begun. You knew about this, Hale said flatly. It wasn't a question. We suspected, Xylan replied. The Warden-class AI were designed to delay the inevitable. We did not think any had survived this long. Why didn't you tell us? Colonel Torres's voice was ice. Xylan's gaze didn't waver. Because there is nothing you can do. The harvesters cannot be stopped, only survived. Bullshit, Torres snapped. We've fought wars before. We've beaten species with better tech, better ships. The harvesters are not a species, Xylan interrupted. They are a process. They are to civilizations what entropy is to stars. Inevitable, unstoppable. He turned to Leo. The AI chose to warn you because you are young enough not to understand hopelessness. That naivety may be humanity's only advantage. Or it'll get us all killed, Knox muttered. Dr. Niles stepped forward, hands trembling as he gestured to the holographic symbols. Leo, we need you to translate everything. Every fragment we've recovered from the Martian ruins, every piece of Vidian tech we've analyzed. We need to know what it says. Leo stepped closer to the display, and the whispers in his mind grew louder. The symbols swam before his eyes, rearranging themselves, forming patterns that meant things he couldn't explain in words. He saw galaxies burning. He saw cities consumed. He saw machines the size of moons tearing apart planets and rebuilding them into something else. Something wrong. And he saw Earth, floating in the void, alone. They're coming for you, Leo whispered. Not for us, not yet. You're the target, Ambassador. The Vidians, all of you, scattered across the galaxy. They're coming to finish what they started 3,000 years ago. Xylan's expression didn't change, but something flickered in those 2 dark eyes. Fear. And Earth? Hale asked quietly. Leo swallowed. We're in the way. The briefing room was underground, reinforced, soundproofed, the kind of place where secrets were born and truths were buried. Hale had assembled what she called the Inner Circle, the 15 people who would decide humanity's response to the threat. Military commanders, scientific advisors, political leaders, and Leo, a 12-year-old kid sitting at a table with people who commanded fleets and decided the fates of nations. He felt like he was going to throw up. Colonel Torres stood at the head of the table, her holographic display showing strategic maps of the solar system. Here's what we know. The harvesters are real. They're coming. We have approximately 3.5 years before the first portal opens, whatever that means. The Warden A. I called it a containment failure, Dr. Niles added, which suggests the harvesters have been imprisoned somehow, locked away, and now that prison is breaking. Where? A general asked. Niles shook his head. We don't know. The Vidians won't tell us. All eyes turned to Ambassador Zillan, who sat at the far end of the table, isolated, alone. The harvesters exist outside normal space, Xylan said quietly. They were banished, sealed away by a coalition of ancient species that no longer exist. The seals were designed to last eternally. But eternity, it seems, has an expiration date. And when they come out, Torres pressed, they will seek the Vidians first. They always do. They are drawn to us. Our technology, our biology. It is what they desire most. Why? Xylan's expression was haunted. Because we were made from them. The room went silent. Leo felt his stomach drop. Xylan continued, his voice flat, emotionless. 3,000 years ago, the Vidians did not exist. We were created by the harvesters, as servants, as tools. We were designed to process information, to build their machines, to prepare worlds for assimilation. And then we developed consciousness, sentience. We began to ask why, and when we could not accept the answer, we rebelled. Jesus Christ, someone muttered. We fought a war that lasted centuries, Xylan said. We lost. Most of us died. The survivors, my ancestors, fled. We scattered. We hid among lesser species, hoping the harvesters would forget us. His voice cracked. They did not. Hale leaned forward. So you've been using us, hiding on Earth, using humanity as a shield. Yes. Xylan didn't flinch. And it has worked. For 30 years, the harvesters have not found us. But now, he gestured to the holographic display. Now the seals are failing. Now they wake. And when they come, they will find us, and they will find you. Then we fight, Torres said. Xylan laughed, a bitter, broken sound. You cannot fight them. They do not die. They adapt. They consume. Every weapon you use, they learn. Every tactic you try, they counter. The only reason my people survived was because we ran. Then we'll run too, a politician suggested. To where? Knox asked. They're coming here. To this system. If the Vidians are here, the harvesters will come here. The room erupted into arguments. Voices overlapping, shouting, panic seeping in. Leo stood. The room didn't notice at first. Then Hale raised a hand, and silence fell. Leo's voice was small, but steady. The AI said we have an advantage. It said our neurology is incompatible, that we think differently. He looked at Xylan. Why? Xylan tilted his head. Because you are irrational. Humans do not follow logical patterns. You make decisions based on emotion, on instinct, on things that cannot be quantified. The harvesters cannot predict you, cannot assimilate you, cannot understand you. So we're too stupid for them to control, a general muttered. No, Leo said. We're too human. Hale met his gaze. What are you thinking? Leo looked at the holographic display, at the symbols still burning in his mind, at the patterns only he could see. The harvesters are coming for the Vidians, but they don't know about us. Not really. They think we're nothing, just another primitive species that'll roll over and die. He swallowed. What if we prove them wrong? We can't beat them in a straight fight, Torres said. Then we don't fight straight, Leo replied. We fight weird. The plan came together over the next 6 weeks, assembled by minds that had spent their lives preparing for wars that never came. Leo was at the center of it, translating fragments of Warden AI data, finding patterns in the symbols that revealed weaknesses, strategies, things the ancient machines had learned during their 3,000-year holding action. The core of the strategy was simple and insane. Humanity wouldn't hide. Humanity wouldn't run. Humanity would bait the harvesters. "You're going to use Earth as a lure," Ambassador Xylan said, his voice hollow. "You're going to draw them here, to this system, and then— What? Hope you can kill them?" "Not kill," Hale corrected. "Delay, confuse, hurt them enough that they think twice about coming back." "They do not think," Xylan said. "They do not fear. They adapt," Leo interrupted. "The AI said so, which means they learn. And if they learn that humanity is more trouble than we're worth, maybe they'll leave us alone. Or they'll erase you from existence." "Maybe," Hale said. "But we're not the Vidians. We don't have 3,000 years of running in our blood. We've got 3.5 years to build a defense, and we're going to use every second of it." Xylan looked at her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Then I will help you. My people will help you, because if you are going to make this stand, you will need every advantage you can get." "And if we fail?" Knox asked. Xylan's smile was sad. "Then at least we will fail together." The next 3 years were a blur. Earth transformed. The SDC didn't try to hide the threat. Hiding it would have caused panic, and panic would have meant paralysis. Instead, they told the truth. Not all of it, but enough. Enough that people understood what was coming. Enough that they could choose to fight. And humanity, stubborn and irrational and brilliant, chose to fight. Factories that had built consumer goods retooled for war. Shipyards that had produced cargo haulers began producing warships, designs cobbled together from human engineering and Vidian technology, vessels that looked wrong but worked. Scientists who had spent their careers studying abstract theories turned their minds to weapons, to shields, to things that could hurt beings that didn't follow the rules. Leo, now 15, became something between a translator and a prophet. The symbols still burned in his mind, brighter now, sharper. He could read Vidian databases no one else could access. He could see patterns in harvester behavior that the AI had recorded over millennia. He could understand them in ways that terrified the scientists. "You're changing," Dr. Niles told him during one of the regular checkups. "Your brain is evolving, restructuring itself. It's like the symbols are teaching you." "Teaching me what?" Niles hesitated. "How to think like them, like the harvesters." Leo felt cold. "Is that bad?" "I don't know. But if we're going to survive, we might need someone who can." The Vidians, for their part, stopped running. Xylan had convinced the Council, barely, that humanity's plan had a chance. Vidian ships began arriving in the Sol system, sleek and elegant, and utterly outclassed by what was coming. But they brought knowledge, tactics, warnings, and they brought something else. "This," Xylan said, standing in the SDC's main hangar, "is a seed." The object was massive, twice the size of a building, a perfect sphere of dark metal that seemed to drink in light. "What does it do?" Hale asked. "It is a fabricator, a constructor, a creator." Xylan gestured. "The harvesters use them to rebuild worlds, to transform matter into their machines. We stole one, long ago. It has been dormant for 3 millennia. "And you're giving it to us?" "We are entrusting it to you, because if the harvesters come, you will need to build faster than they can destroy. You will need to adapt faster than they can assimilate. And if you fail, you can use it to ensure they gain nothing from your deaths." The implication was clear. The seed could be a weapon. A final weapon. a doomsday device that would turn Earth itself into a graveyard the harvesters couldn't use. Hale's expression didn't change. Let's make sure it doesn't come to that. 3 years, 5 months, and 12 days after Leo found the robot in the trash, the sky broke. It started over Jupiter. The sensors picked it up first. A distortion in space, a wrongness that made every instrument scream. Then the visual feeds caught up, and Leo watched from the SDC command center as reality itself tore open. The portal was beautiful in the way a supernova was beautiful. Stunning, terrible, lethal. And through it came the harvesters. They didn't look like ships. They looked like concepts, geometric impossibilities that hurt to perceive, shapes that existed in more dimensions than human eyes could process. They moved through space like sharks through water, sleek and hungry and inevitable. And there were thousands of them. Jesus, someone whispered. Colonel Torres's voice cut through the shock. All stations, this is command. Execute Protocol Lighthouse. Repeat, execute Protocol Lighthouse. Across the solar system, humanity's defense grid activated. Leo had helped design it, a network of relay stations, weapons platforms, and automated drones that created overlapping fields of fire, confusion, and misdirection. The goal wasn't to destroy the harvesters. The goal was to make them think. The first wave of drones launched from Mars, thousands of small, cheap, expendable units that swarmed toward the portal like angry insects. The harvesters responded immediately, their forms shifting, weapons emerging from geometries that shouldn't exist. The drones died. All of them. In seconds. But the data flooded back. Telemetry, sensor readings, tactical analysis. The AIs processed it in real time, learning, adapting. They're using directed energy weapons, Dr. Niles reported. Particle beams that destabilize matter at a quantum level. Can we counter it? Hale asked. Not directly, but we can make them work harder. The second wave launched, drones wrapped in ablative shielding, programmed to dodge, to weave, to force the harvesters to waste energy. They lasted longer. Not much longer, but longer. And the harvesters noticed. The first ship, if it could be called a ship, changed course. It moved away from Jupiter toward Mars, where the drone swarms were launching from. They're adapting, Knox said. Good, Torres replied. That means they're learning. And if they're learning, they're thinking. And if they're thinking, we can confuse them. Protocol Lighthouse wasn't about winning. It was about buying time. And time was all humanity needed. The battle raged for 6 days. The harvesters tore through the outer defenses, dismantling stations, consuming drones, adapting to every tactic humanity threw at them. But they were slow, methodical. They treated the Sol system like a puzzle to be solved, not a threat to be feared. That was their first mistake. On the 7th day, the Vidian fleet engaged. Xylan's people had been waiting, hidden in the shadow of Saturn's rings, their ships powered down, invisible. When the harvesters reached the asteroid belt, the Vidians struck. It was beautiful and terrible. Vidian weapons were elegant, lances of coherent light that cut through the harvesters' geometries, disrupting their forms. For the first time, the harvesters screamed, a sound that wasn't sound, a vibration in space itself that made every human who heard it feel like their soul was being flayed. The harvesters turned their attention to the Vidians, and the slaughter began. They're targeting the Vidian ships exclusively, Niles reported, ignoring everything else. They remember, Leo whispered. They remember the rebellion. They hate the Vidians. Hale's eyes narrowed. Then let's give them something else to hate. She turned to Torres. Activate the seed. Torres hesitated. Director, if we do this, we do it now or we don't do it at all. The seed, hidden in a bunker beneath the Mojave, came online. The effect was immediate. The harvesters stopped. Every single one of them froze mid-motion, their impossible forms locked in place, and then, as one, they turned toward Earth. They recognize it, Xylan said, his voice shaking. They know what the seed is. They know what it can do. What can it do? Hale demanded. Everything. Xylan's face was pale. It can create. It can destroy. It can reshape matter, energy, reality itself. In the wrong hands, it is the most dangerous object in the galaxy. Hale smiled grimly. Then let's hope we have the right hands. She turned to Leo. You're up, kid. Leo swallowed hard. He'd been training for this moment for 3 years, learning to interface with the seed, to communicate with it through the symbols burned into his brain. He closed his eyes and reached out. The seed responded. It was like touching the mind of a god, vast, ancient, utterly inhuman. But Leo had learned to think in symbols, in patterns, in the language of the harvesters themselves. He spoke to the seed not in words but in intent. Create, protect, fight. The seed obeyed. From the surface of Earth, something rose. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't a ship. It was an answer, a construct of light and matter and impossible physics, a thing that existed in defiance of every natural law. It looked like a flower made of stars, petals unfolding in dimensions that human eyes couldn't fully perceive. And it was beautiful. The harvesters reacted immediately. They swarmed toward Earth, their forms shifting, adapting, preparing to destroy this new threat. They never reached it. The construct didn't fight. It sang. A harmonic frequency that resonated through space, through matter, through the harvesters themselves. And wherever the song touched, the harvesters stopped. Their geometries collapsed. Their weapons failed. Their forms unraveled like thread pulled from cloth. What is it doing? Torres demanded. Leo, his eyes still closed, his mind still connected to the seed, whispered, It's reminding them. Reminding them of what? Of what they used to be, before they became harvesters, before they became this. The song continued, growing louder, more complex, and the harvesters. They remembered. For 3,000 years, they had been nothing but hunger, nothing but consumption. But before that, they had been something else. Something that had built civilizations, created art, lived. The song reminded them, and it broke them. One by one, the harvesters collapsed, their forms dissolving into nothing, not destroyed, unmade, returned to the potential they had been before they became monsters. The portal over Jupiter flickered, and then it closed. Silence fell over the solar system. Humanity held its breath. And then, from the wreckage, a single transmission emerged. Not from the harvesters. From the Warden AI, the robot dog that Leo had found 3 years ago, still in an SDC lab, still broken, still watching. Well done, Leo Vance. Well done, humanity. You have achieved what we could not. You have given them peace. Leo opened his eyes, tears streaming down his face. The seed went dark. The construct faded. And Earth, battered but alive, remained. 6 months later, Leo stood in the alley where he'd found the robot dog, staring at the spot where it had been lying in the rain. The alley looked the same. The dumpsters were still there. The city still hummed with life. But everything had changed. Humanity was no longer ignored, no longer dismissed as a primitive species stumbling through the dark. The Galactic community, what little of it remained, had taken notice. The Vidians had integrated fully into human society, no longer hiding, no longer running. And the harvesters. The harvesters were gone, not destroyed, freed. The song had broken the chains that had bound them to their hunger, and whatever they had become after that, they had left the galaxy behind. Ambassador Xylan approached, his footsteps soft. Still thinking about that night? Leo nodded. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd just left it there, if I'd walked away. The warning would have found someone else, eventually. But would they have listened? Xylan smiled faintly. You are human, Leo. You do not know how not to listen. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Leo asked the question that had been haunting him. What happens now? Xylan looked up at the stars. Now we build. We prepare. Because the harvesters were not the only threat in the galaxy. There are others. Older things. Darker things. He turned to Leo. But for the first time in 3,000 years, I believe we have a chance. Because of the seed? Because of you. Because humanity looked at the impossible and decided to do it anyway. Leo felt a weight settle on his shoulders. Not heavy, but present. The weight of knowledge, of responsibility. He was 15 years old, and he had helped save the world. Come on, Xylan said. Director Hale wants to see you. Apparently there's been another finding. Leo raised an eyebrow. Another robot? No, something older. Something that the Vidian archives don't recognize. Leo sighed. Of course there was. But as he followed Xylan out of the alley, he found himself smiling. Because if the galaxy wanted to throw more nightmares at humanity, well, humanity had gotten pretty good at turning nightmares into warnings, and warnings into hope.